And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
RCPA chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, with planet.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside SPD off. Bring in SPD off. It's orange!
45! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
Look at this!
Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
If there's methane to be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You good? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the stream of SAR 2 and 3 from Vandenberg as Falcon 9 gets ready to launch 2 German military satellites, which is why I'm here. I'm here for the pronunciation of funny German agency names. Welcome to the stream. As you can see, you don't see a rocket right now. This comes with the unfortunate sometimes happening that we have in Vandenberg, where fog prevents us from seeing the rocket. We hope that clears up soon and we get a better view on the rocket. But for now, you have to use your theater of mind, your imagination, as this rocket gets ready. Just imagine the venting. We will give you some audio cues when certain things happen. We will make this a good experience all through the countdown. And with me, I am joined by 2 wonderful people. You're starting with Alex. Alex, how you doing?
I'm doing great right now, sort of switching my own T0s here, because I think SpaceX has moved the T0 to 5:41 a.m. Pacific. That will be 13:41 UTC. So yeah, that's interesting that they moved the T0, but it's okay. We're alive. We're fine, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We can talk a lot about SAR and what SAR images are, and we have some examples for you later, so we'll do all of that. But I'm also joined by somebody in the field here, Jack. Jack, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. And this is honestly kind of a perfect weather condition for a SAR mission, given it's like, hey, do you want to image the Earth? But is it obscured by clouds or fog? SAR! So that'll be good to talk about here in a little bit. But yeah, I'm at Harris Grade, about, I think it's about 11 miles away from the pad. And yes, it's foggy right now, and we don't have pad views, but above me it's clear. And I'm not in fog. I'm just looking across Lompoc Valley with all the fog in it. But given that T0 just slipped to 5:41, I'm hoping we have time for this stuff to burn off. And either way, once the rocket ascends off the launch pad, it'll go into clear sky and out of this little fog bank here that is obscuring our view currently. So, yeah, we should have some good views today. Another Vandy launch.
And one thing that I'm excited about, Jack, is not just that it goes up, but this one will come back.
Right, we've got an RTLS, and I do have a microphone on the camera all set up, so hopefully we get some good launch audio. That's the other thing, is sometimes when there's a lot of condensation in the air, it's really humid or really foggy, those launches, the audio really hits hard. So I'm definitely looking forward to the sonic booms as the booster comes back, and I'm definitely looking forward to hearing the rumble of those 9 Merlin engines, because I think the most amazing launch experience I've had from an audio standpoint was an Atlas out of Vandenberg one day when I couldn't even see the Atlas, but the audio itself was it shook me to my core. And no other launch I've ever been to, whether it's Starship or SLS, really quite has matched that experience. Although obviously Starship and SLS are extremely loud, much louder. But it was just, something about that one launch. The audio really was extra spicy. So hopefully we get some good audio and some good views today.
That's like the joke about Vandenberg launches, where it's a fantastic launch. I heard all of it, but Yeah.
Basically.
was
I mean-
I really heard a really good launch.
It's kind of unfortunate that we are so early in the morning, because if we would be like 1 hour later, we would be getting very close to the sun, potentially burning off the fog. Like
Right.
we are right at the area where that won't happen, because I think right now it's like 4:49 for you, right?
Right.
So
Yeah,
it
but
will not.
as I was driving out here, I was a little bit worried because I started off my drive in like insanely dense fog, like driving 20 to 30 miles an hour under the speed limit, dense fog, because it was just so insane. And then I drove 3 or 4 miles, and then it was crystal clear, and I could see stars. And then 5 more miles, and then it was insane fog, and then it was clear, and then it was fog, and it was clear, and it was fog. So there is a potential for the wind to blow this stuff around, or for it to start to lift. I will say, if you've been paying attention to the channel in the last few days, you know that we're out here at Vandenberg, and I have been up early in the morning many days in a row out here, and it has not been foggy in the morning, at least not like this, but we did just sort of get a change in the weather pattern. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens, but either way, once Falcon 9 launches, we should have some good views.
Absolutely. And let's start to talk about today's mission. Alex, so what is launching today? Why are we here? What's happening?
Yeah, so this mission is carrying the SAR-2 and SAR-3 satellites for the German armed forces, and I'm mostly sure that you can pronounce their actual name better than me.
Oh, it's the Bundeswehr.
There you go. See, but I will totally butcher that name. So there you can see a render, an artistic rendition of like the SAR constellation of satellites. If you remember from last year, SpaceX already launched the SAR-1 satellite, which is the one in the middle. That was basically like a proper SAR satellite, and then you have there we go. That's the sort of playback of that other
Similar
launch.
conditions.
Also in fog. Yeah, it also was a return to launch site mission. And the interesting thing is that this constellation, the 2 satellites that they're launching today, they are different types of SAR satellites. They're basically doing it with a different type of antenna and things like that. It's quite a bit different. They are actually they're also smaller satellites. That's why they carry 2 on this one instead of just the 1 that they carried on the SAR-1 launch. So definitely very, very interesting. And there you can see the booster landing, which for today will be not in daylight, unfortunately, but it should hopefully look cool as well. So yeah, and that was the SAR-1 mission today, SAR-2 and 3. And Adrian, what is SAR? Like, the SAR name is for a reason,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, so the name is kind of like a wordplay with the technology it uses. They're using synthetic aperture radar, which is SAR, which it takes images, but not really, because it's not really taking images. It uses radio waves to create area images. We have a tweet here from Harry Stranger, which shows this, for example, with the new Blue Origin LC36. You can see it's not really taking an image. It's more like how bats use echolocation to understand a room. You can see how the signal reflects and points out different things on the pad, and especially highlights some things. How this is interesting? Well, you, for example, can look through clouds, you can look through fog, or you can even look through fabrics and tents. Because the radio waves or the radio waves go through it, so it really allows you for a different perspective from surveying satellites, and of course that's a reason why especially military providers are interested for reconnaissance purposes. Is I think the wording they often use. So that's SAR for you. It's a really interesting technique, and again, today's satellites are more the passive satellites, and the active satellites is in the middle. That's SAR-1. That's the one that is actually like the active SAR imagery satellite. And then all of these signals and all of these information get taken into a very complicated computer with a lot of processing power, and they make then these SAR images. So
Yeah,
that's what's happening here.
That is the simplified version as usual. I remember when I tried to explain on a This Week in Spaceflight episode where it was like, what is synthetic aperture radar imaging? And we tried to make it simple, and then people were like, actually, right? But look, it's really complicated. If we had to go into all of the intricacies of all of this, it will be very, very complicated. And so, in a very summarized example, right? Just like you said, Adrian, that picture that we saw, actually, series of pictures that we saw from Harry Stranger of that pad at LC36. That is a really interesting way. We used SAR pictures as well on a recent Starbase update. If you remember, like a month ago, excuse me, we used that to to ascertain that they were carrying parts of Starship towers from Roberts Road all the way to Starbase, because we had seen Starship Tower sections at Starbase, and we were like, well, we got to make sure. And so we took those SAR pictures from Roberts Road, and then that confirmed that they had gone. And so yeah, that was really nice. And as you mentioned at the beginning, Jack, these SAR satellites, these synthetic aperture radar satellites, are able to look through all kinds of weather, and it is also very, I mean, look, in quotes, look through all kinds of weather, and also in all kinds of illumination situations. Because if you had, for example, in the middle of the night, you may use, for example, infrared imaging. Sometimes it's useful, but other people prefer SAR. It is also something that allows you to also not have to go into sun-synchronous orbit every single time, even though these two in particular are not going to. These are going to a polar orbit around 88 degrees inclination is the thinking. But the first one, SAR-1, did go into a sun-synchronous orbit. But nowadays, since it's not required, then they go into a lower inclination as well, which is really interesting because there's benefits to that as well.
Absolutely. It's certainly a very interesting technology, and I know, for example, our good friend and writer Harry Stranger also loves it because it really gives you a very interesting sense of certain areas you want to know about, and especially what we, for example, used it a lot of it is it's hardware tracking. Like, it's really good for tracking, I don't know, rings, domes, everything. Like, that's really something where SAR excels. So that's a thing we learned as well. And again, SAR is a complicated thing, so if we got something right there or wrong, it sometimes happens. I believe we also have a picture of the fairing as it arrived in Vandenberg, Jay. If I recall
Fairing
correctly,
with the payload on board, the two satellites on board, and that is an interesting thing. A lot of people, obviously more experienced folks out there probably know about this, but the payload is usually, so when you see this kind of thing where the fairing is going around and things like that, the payload is already on board. It's encapsulated in a different building, and then it's transported to Vandenberg. I think in this case it was encapsulated on another separate building, because if I remember correctly, at least at Vandenberg, the location where they encapsulate things, it's like next door to the hangar, so they wouldn't need to transport this. But they also have other facilities, especially for government missions. This is obviously a foreign government, but still is a government mission, and so they have other places where they can, put hush satellites into Falcon 9 fairings. But there, you can see that.
Yeah, also, by the way, I just googled what Zap-Aufkl means, because that's one of these famous German abbreviations where I'm like, I don't even have a clue what that means. It's the Central Imaging Reconnaissance Area of the Bundeswehr. So I was just curious.
Not even Twitter can translate that. I mean, well, X, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's like unable to fetch translation. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, it's German.
That's German for you.
I love, by the way, how Jack, like, to the right, is right now scanning for more Christmas lights. Jack, how's the weather? How's the wind? If you're able to answer to us right now. I'm not sure. You're probably scanning around, so I will just go on as long. Tell me when you're back. But let's see. Let's talk about today's booster, Alex. What's the booster?
Yeah, so today's booster is hold on, because there's so many, and I have to scroll by. Yeah, it is B1075 flying on its 8th mission. It is about 55 days from its last launch. It's a bit of a rarity that Vandenberg boosters lately
Oh,
get such a long. Oh, what? Hold on.
Alex,
Yes.
do you see that on the right?
Do I see it on? Oh, is that a rocket?
That's a rocket.
Hold on, I have to
All
up
right,
the.
I confess. I
brightness.
confess. I was looking for more Christmas lights, and then I was like, "Oh, hey, look, a rocket!" So there you go. You can have a.
There we
I
go.
know it's not Christmas lights. I'm sorry, but you're just gonna. In fact, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll stop.
Oh, are we doing SAR puns today? Is that
Come
now
on.
kicked off? Did Jack just start that?
I don't
mean,
know. Like what? I'm trying to think of another one, and I'm not Sawyer, so I don't have another one ready to go. But I'll work on it.
this is already so much better way than we expected. We can see a rocket on a Vandenberg stream. That's good. That I mean, already expectations exceeded. So we're going with that. Alex, you were about to recap the booster. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. No, but it's totally fair that you interrupted me because that's a big deal. So now we can actually see the booster a bit far in the distance, but at least no fog in the way finally, or little fog in the way. So yeah, this is booster B1075. It is launching for an 8th time today. As you can see there from Next to Spaceflight, a really helpful resource if you want to learn about all of the previous histories of all the boosters from SpaceX and everything. So there, you can see all of the flights. It's a Starlink booster, as one would call it, right? Because all of its previous launches have been basically just one customer launch, and then everything else has been a Starlink. It actually debuted on a Starlink launch, to be fair. And one of the things as well is that this booster is gonna be, so it launched in January for the first time, and then again in December. That's 8 launches in a year, which is amazing. Just for a single booster. There's companies out there that haven't even launched 3 times or 4 times in a whole year. And this booster alone is flying for an 8th time this year. All of its flight history, which is mind-blowing. But yeah, and so for today, it's, as I mentioned before at the beginning of the stream, it is returning back to land at LC4. So we'll hopefully maybe see that return back to land. We'll see, but yeah, it's a Starlink booster, as you may call it.
So Jack, in relation to what we see right now from the pad, where would the RTLS would be? Like, is it to left, to right? Talking while muted.
Yep. Okay, so it's basically going to land right back where it starts from. The difference with a Vandy RTLS and the difference is that the launch pad is right next to the landing pad, whereas in Florida, the landing pad is miles away. So from this perspective, it will essentially land right back where it's launching from. It should be quite a treat.
You could almost say it's quite a Christmas tree.
Wow. Don't try so hard.
I
We're
try,
all
but
in.
every
You
time
started.
yeah, you started, kinda.
Yeah, it's true. I started it.
Oh, wow, that's another one.
That was so bad.
It was kinda bad. Yep, there's
Hey,
the
There
pun
we go.
token.
I woke
Pun
up at 2
token.
a.m. today. You guys can deal with some bad puns.
Hey Jack, how's weather? Because we now saw the T0 slipping multiple times, so I'm wondering, how's weather?
I mean, it's not super windy. Obviously, there's fog. But above me, it remains relatively clear, although I can no longer see stars. But as you can see by the fact that we got a view of the rocket, like the conditions are pretty dynamic right now. So we'll just have to see how the next 40 minutes or so treats us. But I am not a range officer, so I don't know what they're tracking in terms of weather, but nothing that I can report on leads me to think that weather is an issue.
Yep, and to be fair, they're already, Alex, if I recall correctly, they're already quite a chunk into their window, right? It's not like they have a lot of wiggle room anymore.
Yeah, this was an 83-minute window. It could go all the way to 6:34 a.m. Pacific time. So that is the end of the window. Right now, the T0 as of right now is 5:41 a.m. Pacific. So
They
it
have
could
like
be
50
about
minutes more.
50 more minutes. Yeah, exactly. 50 minutes more to get that launch off the ground. We're not sure if the reason for these delays on the T0 is because of the weather or rocket issues or whatever, but maybe SpaceX
Yep.
will tell us down the line.
What? Wait. So you said they had more time in the window, or are they at the end of the window at this point?
No, they are not at the end. They have it still about 50 more minutes in the
And
window.
how long do we have until prop load would start?
It should start in about a minute if they're targeting still 5:41 a.m.
Right. All right. Well, we'll just have to watch and see what
Look!
happens.
Oh, we have a
Timeline.
countdown
Here you go.
timeline. Fancy. So there you can see stage 1 RP1 loading would begin in 50 seconds from now. Again, we usually have trouble spotting it in the first few minutes. We will have an even harder time spotting it today because this rocket is, well, not really that easy to spot right now. So
Yeah.
it might take some time or a SpaceX confirmation for us to really verify they're in a prop loading.
That's why you don't see, because when we can verify it, then we put it in green, in green colors, so that it's okay, and that is our way to mark it there on the countdown. But obviously, it's still gray. We have no confirmation that they have begun. They have gone ahead with Propellant load, so we'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely. While we wait for these first signs to appear, hopefully in a few minutes from now, I want to thank some people here that started to support us here in the very early morning, starting with
Wait.
Matt's. Oh, so
Wait.
go ahead.
Speaking of thanking people, I do want to thank my buddy Nick, who actually came up to this launch. He has been letting me borrow his Canon RF 600mm prime, which is the lens that you are all viewing the rocket through right now. So it's I'm extremely grateful for it because that's the lens I shot Starship with. That's the lens I shot Firefly with. That's the lens you're looking through right now. So thanks to Nick for letting me borrow this insane lens. And if you want some awesome aviation photography, check him out on Instagram. It's PlaneCod, PlaneCod. That's his Instagram handle. Go give him some love. Anyways, I just wanted to thank him because holy cow, this lens is amazing, and I could never afford one.
Thank you so much for that shout out. And if mods can, I'm not sure if we can grab that link or find that link, and then we can give it some attention in chat. Like if we can find it, that would be very appreciated. Give us some love on Instagram. Let me thank some other people here. Starting with Matt Goselar with 5 Red Team memberships gifted, and I will just continue here because he gifted another 5 Red Team memberships, and then he gifted 20 more Red Team memberships, and I've been told that has been ongoing the whole morning. So, Matt, thank you so much. That's really, really generous support here, and that's a lot of memberships gifted. Yeah, thank you so much. That's
if you got
cool
a
to see.
membership from Matt, be sure to thank him because that's really generous. Thank you, Matt.
Absolutely. In general, if you get a membership, make sure to thank people. That's really important. Andy Glover here with 5 Red Team memberships gifted. Jake Winlow with another 5 Red Team memberships gifted. Revhat with a membership gifted. And also Nick Anderson and Risk becoming Pet Red members. Thank you so much, all.
Wait,
then
that's him. That's Nick. He became a Pad Rat member.
Awesome. So he supported us in 2 ways. Can you once again give his Instagram handle so I can find him?
Oh yeah, it's PlaneCod, PlaneCod.
I will just quickly grab that link because then we can really make sure to give. I think we got it. There we go. We already have it in chat. Perfect. Super. Thank you all so much. Also, we have Yannick here with a super chat saying, "Go SpaceX, go Germany, go Bundeswehr." Yeah. So it's really cool for me also to see a German satellite launch for once. It's kind of like it's a very secretive one, and of course that's
Yeah.
we always want more information, but in general, it's always cool to see German satellites being launched. So I like that. That's why I'm here.
Stairs in Spanish government satellites being launched on Vega and then thrown into the Atlantic Ocean. There we go.
Yeah,
I got it out.
don't launch on Vega. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
it's
Boy.
it happened in the past a bit. I know there's some other people who really like SAR images and like in general space imageries that had some Vega some Vega satellites launched, and they're very sad. So there we go. Alex, we are 31 minutes in. Do you think we are into prop load?
Well, right around this time, we will be seeing frost on the booster. There's a problem here, though, that the rocket is a bit far away, so it's complicated to see it actually getting frosty and things like that. But definitely, there's going to be a point in the count when we can call it, like, for sure, that we're well into propellant load, and that is with a T-minus 20-minute vent, which, if everything is still going for that 5:41 a.m. Pacific time launch, then we will see it in about 10 minutes from now. So just stand by and we'll see what's the status of this. As long as the SpaceX doesn't say anything, then we'll have to deal with this.
Yeah,
Alex,
sorry the
what-
image is so
Okay.
dark, but you're looking through 1,200 millimeters of lens and like 11 miles of fog. So it's funny because the pad is usually really well illuminated. I'm sure it is right now as well, but fog turns out blocks a lot of light. So
I guess this lens will be amazing though at liftoff, right? With the exposure of the engines and everything, like.
right.
So let's hope for that. Alex Westy is asking, where are we right now in the number of launches of SpaceX this year?
Hey, well, the launch that we had just a few hours ago from the Cape, by the way, that was the 95th launch total for SpaceX, but that is counting Starship. And this is the thing, I count Starship in my own spreadsheet because I think it's important. It's probably even more complex than most Falcon 9 launches. It's much bigger, more systems, etc., right? But SpaceX's whole goal of 100 launches this year only counts Falcon launches. So Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy launches, but not Starship. So if you only count Falcon launches, this will be the 94th, and they have already done 93 launches with Falcon. So there you go. You can see not only those stats on Nexus Spaceflight, but also you have all other stats in the description and things like that. I don't know if we updated those, but okay. Yeah, it's really interesting that, you know, depends on who you talk to, right? It may be a different count of missions and launches. Yeah.
Yep.
I guess it's a problem of
absolutely.
launching so much and having so many rockets to launch. That's good.
Imagine
it makes
having-
sense. It makes sense to count Starship. I mean, like you said, Alex, it's super complex. It definitely, it feels like it should be worth more than a Falcon 9 launch in terms of the count. But yeah, I agree with the methodology of counting Starship. So stay the course, buddy. Go ahead, Adrian. I'll shut up.
We can also start counting individual Falcon boosters that have launched, and then Falcon Heavy gets funky.
No, I'm not. No, boy.
Okay, not a fan.
No, I'm not a fan because people were trying to convince me that, oh, well, they reach 100 launches if you count Falcon Heavy as 3 launches, and I'm like, come on,
It's one.
that's cheating.
It's one.
Yeah, that's one. I don't count, like, when Atlas 5 carries 6 boosters or 5 boosters, I don't count that like a 6 launch mission kind of thing. But just because it has boosters or Soyuz or anything like it, or Delta 4 Heavy. Delta 4 Heavy is about to launch for a last time in 3 months.
That would have meant that Delta 4 Heavy so far has launched 45 times, because if you count everything triple.
Yeah, right? It doesn't make sense. But the key thing here is that it doesn't matter if they didn't reach 100. Who other company has reached 90 even, or even 80? I think the other record was like 62 by the Soviets at one point in history, and that was it, right? No one else has been able to even cross 70, let alone 90. 97, which is sort of what we're thinking they're going to get in terms of the launches for Falcon, that is quite remarkable. And the current pace of launches, they're pretty much on track to achieve more than 100 in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, they're already like, if I feel like if you're looking at the last 6 months of pace, that would already be the pace, right? Like, they're probably already on there. I want to acknowledge some super chat here because there's some very, very cool and generous support here. Starting with Wally first with a $4.99 super chat saying, "My coworkers and I at SpaceX love watching your streams at work. Thanks for all you do." And first off, that's cool. I hope we don't say too much wrong things. So thank you for that. That's really, really, really cool. And I hope you all enjoy these. And then, and I have to shout this out, especially if we have Byteford, a very, very regular supporter of this channel, with a $100 super chat saying, "My last chance before Christmas to thank Jack, Alex, and Adrian and all the rest of NSF for a great 2023 coverage year. Looking forward to 2024. For your information, this is SpaceX's 96th launch."
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There we go. Included
Good
a
one.
thank, an information, like everything. And again, Byteford, this
It's
is
amazing. Thank you.
so much generous support. Thank you so much. That's
And I guess by saying that it is the 96, they are basically saying they count a Starship. So good one, because I also count it.
yeah. I think we are all now counting this as 96. So thank you, Byteford, again. And just to give this because there will be one more stream which will feature Alex, Jack, and me, and also Trevor, which will be at 3 p.m. Eastern today, which will be our year in review in NSF Live. And yeah, it's gonna be one. I feel like based on the crew that is available for this NSF Live, first we have 4 people, and I think this is gonna be a good episode.
Yeah, the Chaos crew will be out in full force. Also, thank you, Bideford.
And with that, we have some very not so great news here. We have to announce that this mission has delayed a few more minutes. The launch opportunity is now, the first one is in 53 minutes and 25 seconds, right? Yes. So we are right now counting down again by 53 minutes and 18 seconds now to 6:10 a.m. Pacific time as they delayed the launch even more.
Hey, I'll take it. It's closer to sunrise. It's more time for the weather to improve, and it's closer to a chance that we might get some cool plume action.
Yeah, like with Jack, with this time now being 20 minutes away from sunrise. Jellyfish today?
I don't want to say definitively, but I certainly hope we see one. I would be extremely happy.
It seems like we are getting close, at least, right? It seems like we are.
Definitely. And the thing is like a Twilight launch, which is what we always mention when we're talking about the jellyfish. Like a Twilight launch, they're always spectacular, but the most spectacular Twilight launch is an RTLS because you get that boost back burn from the first stage and the plume interacting with the second stage plume and all of that while the point of view of the observer is in shadow. So fingers crossed we get an awesome RTLS jellyfish. We'll see. When is the actual drop dead end of the window?
Basically at sunrise, if I recall correctly. It's
it is
6. It's
6:34 a.m.
Yeah,
6:34 a.m. Pacific time.
And let me see. I think it's like around that time where sunrise is. Sunrise is 6:56.
Yeah, so sunrise is around 7. So it would be just. I mean, that is a very. If they go to the end of the window, that's a very promising time. But even if it's where it's currently scheduled for right now, I would say that's pretty promising. Although there is a large cloud of fog that is slowly ascending over Harris Grade and starting to obscure me. So we'll see how it goes. Vandenberg.
Yay! It's certainly an experience. Alex, Kali, there's an interesting question here. What can SpaceX improve to break the record of this year's launches? Like, where can they go faster?
Yeah, so right now, at the rate that they're going, they could do 120 launches. So the current rate, so the thing is with the 100 launches goal is that they started with a cadence that basically will give them 80 launches, and then across the year they sped up, right? They basically went faster and faster and faster as the months went by, and now their current cadence will allow them to do 120 launches, right, in a given year. The thing is that obviously falls short from the target of 144 launches. So what else they need to do? Well, one of the things that we're thinking here, based on certain communications permits that we saw for Starlink missions, is that they may try to do RTLS landings for Starlink missions out of the Cape, where they can do basically a lower number of satellites on that mission to be able to return back the booster to land. But then the overall timeline, the cadence of launches is increased, and therefore the amount of launches per month or per day or things like that, that increases overall. The rate of launching the satellites increases, even though per launch, some of these launches may get less satellites per launch. But because you're launching more, then at the end of the day, you're launching more satellites overall. So that's a really nice thing that we might see in the next year. That basically allows them to be able to increase the launch cadence without needing a third drone ship out of the Cape. Another thing that we won't see in 2024, but we will see perhaps in 2025, and we have already seen reports about that, is that here from Vandenberg, we will not only have this pad to look at through lots of fog, we will also have another launch pad to see through a lot of fog, which is Slick 6. Space
Let's
Launch Complex
go.
6 is being leased by SpaceX after having supported, the Titan and Delta families. Now it is on SpaceX's hands, and supposedly they're planning to launch for the first time around the middle of 2025 with Falcon 9, and then into 2026 with Falcon Heavy. But it is a very interesting question there, because right now, even if they do RTLSs, that maybe can put them in around 150 launch range kind of thing. If they want to launch more, they need to get even better at turning them around those launch pads, and also probably even get an extra drone ship, at least here from Vandenberg. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, there was a big question when ULA launched the final West Coast Delta IV Heavy. What would happen to Slick 6? I mean, it's such a beautiful pad. It is such a historic pad with, its shuttle history there. We mentioned the space shuttle. Chris Bergen will not fire us this
Bingo.
time. But yeah, it's such a beautiful pad. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's well equipped with so much infrastructure that's been built out that is much more capable than even a Falcon 9 needs. So hopefully we see some West Coast Falcon Heavies. Hopefully, maybe someday we even get West Coast Starship.
That would
And
be amazing.
I can be a very happy guy. But it's awesome. I'm really happy to see Slick 6 not just like mothballed, but that it'll continue to be used. It just makes me very happy. And pretty soon here, I'm gonna have to hop on the old Pacific Surfliner, the train that goes through Vandenberg, the Amtrak train, and take a look out the window as we go past Slick 6 to see if there's been any kind of changes, or what SpaceX is doing to the facility. Like, do they SpaceXify, for lack of a better word? Do they like SpaceXify the aesthetic at Slick 6? Do they make everything sort of monochrome and like black and white, like in classic SpaceX fashion? Do they put up a big sign that says "Gateway to Polar
Polar?
Orbit" or something? Yeah,
Gateway to Starlink.
yeah. But
That
yeah,
would
I mean, at some point you got to figure there'll be visible changes at Slick 6, and it's kind of way nestled down at the southern end of South Base, so it's not an easy spot to see, but you can see it from the Pacific Surfliner for like 20 to 30 seconds as you head south towards Los Angeles from the Lompoc area. So fun. That's like a pro tip. If you are spending a couple days out here for a launch, 120% get on the Surfliner. Or if you live in Los Angeles or somewhere on the California coast and you don't want to drive, Surfliner is amazing. It's a train good. I'll just say that trains are good. I mean, obviously there's the various issues with the American rail system and the fact that the freight companies like own the rails, and then there's all kinds of delays because of that, and blah blah blah. But anyways, take the Surfliner. You can basically go through all of Vandenberg, like North Base, South Base. You go right past Slick 2, you go right past Slick 4, you go right past Slick 6. So it's a real treat, and it's not even expensive or anything.
So,
Not
just to
sponsored.
recap where we are here, because we are because people are wondering where we are. We are 45 minutes away from the liftoff of SAR 2 and 3, hopefully, if it doesn't slip further. For people wondering why the screen is so black, because, well, the rocket is far away and it's a foggy day, as is Vandenberg tradition. SAR is SAR 2 and 3 are 2 payloads for the German military, for the Bundeswehr. Why did I pronounce that English? And
I didn't even notice, for the record.
So we are, and I think we have, like, just to show maybe again, like, the picture of the renders, so people can get an imagination of what we are looking at right now. There we go. That's a visual interpretation of what today is launching. So the middle payload already launched in 2022. That is SAR 1. That's the active part of these SAR imagery satellites, and the outer ones, the one you see to the right and left here, these are the passive ones, and these are the payloads that are launched today. They will work together, and once they are, they're kind of working together and build like a whole system of SAR imagery here, and will help to increase resolution and capabilities of the SAR imaging system that was initially, I think, SAR-Lupe. That was the initial network that is now replaced by SAR.
Yeah.
So that's the launch we are looking at right now.
More lights. Christmas lights.
Yep. Let's see what's happening here. We have 43 minutes to go until the right now predicted, or like the communicated liftoff from SpaceX. And we have, after that, I think 15 more minutes in the window, so it cannot slip that much further. We are right in the end of the window. And we will see how this all goes. Or not go. We'll see. We'll see. Let's see for some more questions. That's one where I maybe need to send Alex into the spreadsheet. How many boosters did SpaceX land this year, and what share is RTLS? So that's
that is, yeah. The problem with that is that I have a lot of data in my spreadsheets, but I don't sort the data in that way. So I will probably need to take a minute or two to be able to do that calculation. But we've had quite a lot of RTLS flights compared to previous years, because first of all, we have had a lot of launches this year, to be fair. And also we have had Falcon Heavies with the double RTLS. We had only one expendable Falcon Heavy so far, but the other 3 were double RTLS, and so we had 2 RTLS. We also had multiple RTLSs in the beginning of the year with, for example, Transporter and OneWeb and things like that. Here from Vandenberg as well, most of the I think not most, but all of the customer missions from Vandenberg have been RTLS. So that is really neat to have, compared to, for example, Starlink missions, which have the downrange landing on the drone ship. So yeah, it will take a while for me. I could maybe tweet it later or something if you want to. I can work with that. It's just that I don't have it sorted that way. But that's definitely being a lot.
There we go. Let's see what we can also talk about here a bit, and I had a question here. Let me see. I remember where. So Jack, where's this? Like, which trajectory are they going with this? Like, what's the direction this rocket flies from here? And there we go. We have even a trajectory graphic. I love the preparation.
Is that in the wrong orientation?
Oh wait, I think the names are
Yeah.
rotated.
Yeah, Jay. That's we're gonna need a mirror here.
So that's left to south here, right?
Yeah, it is going straight south. Basically, we think it's going to be an 88-degree inclination orbit. That is sort of the thinking. The previous one went into a sun-synchronous orbit, about 98.4 degrees. And it is because they're sort of flying information, so it's a different orbital plane. Orbital mechanics, complex stuff, but that's the summary of it.
There we go. And yes, that's like... So I had this recently because I run some D&D campaigns, and there was a map maker that basically had a whole map set, and every of his map were oriented like the north point was, like the upper point was east.
There we go.
Which was so confusing. There we go. That's oriented south. That's the trajectory. Going straight south.
Like Alex said, it's going to go straight south. Basically, from the camera's perspective, it will go up and left. But it kind of hugs the coastline. If you're in Los Angeles right now, and it launches today, then definitely go outside, because people down the coast are in for a treat given the timing.
Yeah, and
There we
that
go.
shape that you see there, that is sort of the location, the hazard zone that they have for the fairing recovery, and also in the case that the boost back burn fails for whatever reason. It hasn't failed with Falcon 9 yet, but it's good to have. As we've seen with other certain vehicles that fail their boost back burn, it's nice to have. And so they have that shape area there to be able to, tell people, hey, just in case, get out of the way, because otherwise you might get hit by a rocket. And it's shaped like a coffin for some reason, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you can use a lot of D&D today because you can also imagine the theater of your mind to imagine the rocket. And that's the
second stage re-entry location.
At New Zealand.
Yeah. About an orbit after the launch.
Yep. So do you see like second stages? Like you can see them re-entry, right? If it's like night, you can see them breaking up.
You can even see the re-entry burn. I know that at one point, well, not the re-entry burn, like the deorbit burn, actually. I know that at one point, some Starlink missions had their deorbit burns over Spain. So a lot of people, especially when it was like in twilight time, they got freaked out, and we had reports all over news medias here in our country. It was crazy, and I was like, no, that's a Falcon 9 second stage. I even had my sister once call me, oh, what's this light in the sky? And I'm like, yeah, that's okay.
I am sorry. We have some news here. Apparently, the SpaceX stream on X was just pushed 24 hours, and we are also getting reports that the block to Surf Beach is now open. Jack, what does that mean, the later one?
Right, so Surf Beach is a beach and also a Amtrak stop, as we were talking about earlier, the Pacific Surfliner. Surf Beach is open to the public, even though it's kind of right in between North and South Base. And they close Surf Beach for launches. So the fact that there's no roadblock would sort of indicate no launch.
And website was also just updated. We can now confirm a 24-hour recycle scrub for the Sarah 2 and 3 mission.
Yep.
So
that will be tomorrow.
And the 83-minute launch window opens tomorrow at 5:11 a.m. PT. And I'm straight up gonna be honest with you. We don't know yet what we'll do with this because it's also Christmas Eve, so there might even be a situation where even we take we will evaluate, and you will see what happens. But I'm gonna be honest here. It's Christmas Eve. There might be a situation where also our people want to go home, right? So we'll see what happens. Either way, we have confirmation by SpaceX here that launch today has been scrapped. Do we know why?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I haven't heard why.
It's like I feel like the constant like pushing by a few minutes always screams like weather to me. Because it's this whole thing of like, oh, it might get better, it might get better,
Yeah.
it might get better. Oh, it didn't get better.
Yeah, I
It
would
does
agree
feel
with
like
that.
that.
It like, you know, trying to find a hole in the weather, trying to sort of delay until you can find a moment where things are green. Yeah, that sort of is the vibe that I got this morning.
Yep. I want to thank some more people here before we wrap. I want to thank James Kirk for a $5 super chat saying thank you for that. I also want to thank Matt Hicks for a $5 super chat. When will Alex come to the States for a launch? Alex, when are you going to come to the States for the launch?
I don't know. I want to go, but and I kind of have plans already, but I'm trying to keep it hush hush. So I'm looking at myself. Yeah, I have plans to go to the United States, but we'll see.
There we go. And with that, I want to first and foremost thank Jack for rolling out to Vandenberg today.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks to everyone who supports what we do. We couldn't do this without you.
Then I want to thank Alex for being with me here today and explaining SAR.
Yeah, and just before we wrap up, I wanted to say that SpaceX has said that it is to allow for additional pre-flight checkouts, which usually means they're looking at things on either the ground systems or the rocket. But yeah, it's been definitely a good time here that we have had, and glad to be here.
There we go. Thank you, Alex. And I also want to thank behind the scenes Jay for being with us here today and making all of these look as good as we can, and also giving us a lot of views of graphics and seats, so we don't have to look at Christmas lights all stream. And with that, I'm Adrian Bile, and again, we have one more stream for today, which is the NSF Live at 3 p.m. Eastern today, where we will review our year with Alex, with Jack, with Trevor, and with me. And that's it for today. Thank you all for watching. And we will make sure to catch you all on that stream or any launches in the future. See you then.
West Coast.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
RS-68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, Atlantis.
Water towers, fly! Yes! Payload down to nominal.
Flight downside SPD off. Say again, SPD off. Off. It's orange! Orange 45! Oh my god! Oh my god! Decollage! What is it? Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed. We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
The methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?